Welcome to the Women in Fishing Podcast. I'm Chris Woodward. The Women in Fishing Podcast is sponsored by Axo Noble Yacht Coatings, makers of Interlux and All Grip products for boats. Today, I want to introduce you to two women who are helping guide the development of women's technical fishing apparel. My guests are Wesley Locke. Wesley is a Columbia PFG ambassador who tournament fishes for tarpon on fly out of Islamorada in the Florida Keys. Wesley is the daughter of fly fishing guide Tommy Locke. She's also involved with conservation groups, all striving to protect Florida's vital estuaries and fisheries. Jillian Hidalgo is the design director who oversees product creation and development at AFTCO and Marshwear and is based out of Southern California. She has worked in technical apparel for 10 years and is passionate about creating items that perform so anglers can enjoy what they love. Welcome to the podcast, y'all.
Hey,
Thank you.
thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate you being here. Well, we're going to kind of start off because you both kind of come from different aspects of the apparel creation equation. And so I want to talk a little bit with you, Wesley, first about what types of fishing clothing you wear since you're on the water, like all week long. What kinds of fishing clothing have you really found are your favorite types of things to wear? And let's talk about the summertime because we're just about, this is going to air June 1st. So we are talking about hot weather.
Well, June 1st, I will be in pre-fishing tarpon tournament mode. I fished several of the fly fishing tarpon tournaments down in the Florida Keys and Islamorada. And so for what I do, it's really long days. It's 8 hours minimum. You're either battling really intense sun or storms or wind or a combination of all of it. Generally speaking, I go out covered head to toe. So long pants, long shirts. I wear this shirt more often than any other. It's the Title T performance style hoodie from Columbia, and it's just the most comfortable. So typically speaking, like I said, long pants, long shirt, long sleeve shirt with a hood, buff, hat. I want to be covered from absolute head to toe in the most comfortable, light fabric and material that just allows me to focus on fishing and not what I'm wearing.
Gotcha.
And obviously I have like foul weather gear because the day you don't bring it is the day you need it.
Exactly.
So I always have that, which is great because some of the Columbia products have like the neoprene cuffs and stuff you really need when you're trying to stay as dry as possible and as comfortable as possible. But generally speaking, all pretty light tones because since I'm doing sight fishing, fly fishing for inshore species, I'm trying to disappear. So generally speaking, it's white, tans, grays, light blues, greens, anything that I can do to just kind of blend in and stay as breezy as possible in the intense sun while staying protected from sun damage and intensity of that. So that's what I wear.
Yeah. So obviously when the fish is looking up, the fish is looking at sky. So that's why you're talking about having the light colors.
Anything light that makes, anytime you're wearing a poppy color, just anything that draws attention. I had one of the designers for Columbia, we were doing a beta shoot. And he was like, do you really think that the fish can see you? And I was like, Bear, who was sitting behind me. And he was like, well, he used different language, but he said, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you have no idea, especially like how much they spook just off birds or off anything. You want to be the last thing that is a variable. So you're just trying to blend in, but also stay comfortable. You wear darker colors in the winter if it's cold and you're like, I get to wear navy.
Right.
but in the Florida Keys, it's that's only a few months out of the year. In the summertime, it's light colors, comfortable fabric.
Gotcha. Well, Jillian, how do you and AFTCO determine what women's technical clothing pieces to create and how they should be constructed? How do you do that?
I have now been working at AFTCO for about 4 years. And when it came to women's, it was first to work with the lady anglers that we actually have on our team. So we reached out and we wanted to see what our line was first missing for them, and even fit everything. I mean, we took a deep dive. Like, it was very humbling to hear what they had to say because we have, someone like Captain Mo, man, she'll tell you anything that she something is itching on her, she will tell you, and she'll tell you exactly how it's itching, where it's itching, and how I should actually fix it. So she tells me exactly what I need to be doing. Then I take her feedback and I go, okay, I'm going to figure this out for you. I think that's the biggest thing, is that we always work first with the women and we see what we're missing from that line. So each season we start out with questions out to the ladies. We take the feedback, and that's how we build out our line plan for the season. And that's how we pick out fabrics, how we pick out fits. That really starts out with the women that we have.
Yeah, you've got quite a few women that are giving you feedback, and I assume they're freshwater and saltwater and various.
Yeah. So freshwater and saltwater, and depending on each season, fall we definitely tend to favor more freshwater. Due to the elements that they do get themselves into, especially a lot of our kayak women. In the spring, we have more like the inshore, offshore women that have a little bit more of a say, because like Wesley was just saying, they battle a lot of the heat and the whole different type of an element there. How do you stay comfortable and in all of that?
We put the gear through it. So we're like, I have a comment.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good. Well, that's the way, everybody learns for sure, is the actual experience is key. Wesley, considering summer fishing again specifically, tell us what kinds of apparel technologies are most important to you and why. I mean, you mentioned, you want to stay cool and comfortable. Columbia has Omni-Freeze Zero. They have UPF protection, stain resistance, all kinds of different technologies involved in their apparel. What are the key technologies for you?
I would say that almost all of the cooling technologies that are inside the material I like. So the ones with the circles on the inside, I believe it's Omni-Freeze or Omni-Freeze Zero, one of the two. I think they both have it. It cools when it gets wet. And it really works. Like the first time I used it and I dunked it in the water and put it on, or I was sweating really gross. And it really does cool your body temperature. And then also the Omni-Freeze Ice, or whatever one has the little snowflakes on the inside, is also really, really comfortable. This is Omni-Shade, which doesn't have the technology on the inside. I honestly think for most women, it comes down to the technology that works, but also the style. Like this shirt, I like the fit of it. I like the style. So it ends up being what I veer towards, but all of the cooling technology that's inside the material works really well.
Yeah, I know AFCO has that kind of technology as well, right, Jillian? Tell us about the cooling technology that AFCO has.
We do have a cooling technology in Barracuda, but we don't actually have that in women's, and we're actually moving away from that. We have our pledge going forward, trying to find more sustainable solutions and when we make fabric and product in general, so we can keep our waterways and everything healthy as they can be. So we actually have Adapt phase change technology in our line, which is a bio version of like a freeze. So it's actually compounded from natural elements from the earth. Okay. And what it does, it actually changes with you throughout the day. So in the morning when you go out, it actually helps trap heat in. So it actually keeps you slightly warmer. And then as the day goes on, it opens up the pores and it allows more wicking and cooling to happen. So then it actually cools. And then again, if you're out for a whole day, it will start cooling again, sun goes down, and it will allow it to trap heat back in. So we were trying to think of ways to how to take a shirt that you wear all day long and make it work for you. So it then turns more into a layering piece that can build into this beautiful outfit that will work for you the best it can be. And that was when we found it was by Optimer, and the Adapt phase change has worked amazing for us.
Gosh, it sounds like that's fabric that's alive or something. It knows if you're sweating or if you're cold, and it's going to,
It's amazing. And it's amazing that it was actually, manufactured from the natural properties. So it actually does not hurt the earth. If your water gets on it or anything, and if anything transfers off of you onto you or into the back into the waterways or the earth itself, it doesn't do any harm. So the fabric of the Adapt is a textured dobby knit that's made out of recycled polyester. It's one of our main goals by 2024. We want to be, all of our polyester, we want to have recycled. So that's a huge push for us. And it's really exciting to see I think we're at 60% of the line already. The team has been amazing, pushing such an aggressive story, but it's been an amazing change. Awesome.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it myself. It definitely is a huge team. I can't. I have the best team.
Well, is Phase Adapt technology in actual pieces of clothing now, men's and women's, or just men's?
So it's currently in men's and women's, and the Adapt, it's the Adapt Women's, and it has a hood, integrated anatomical fit face mask that's integrated. And then it also has thumb loops, UPF 40. And then it also has mesh panels underneath for additional heat to dump out from your body.
Okay.
So it's definitely more of like a warm weather piece we were trying to attack. And it's in men's and women's.
I am fascinated. I know, you said you're fascinated too, Wesley. How does it do that? How does it sense your temperature and know what to do?
So, the best thing that I can describe it, because everyone kind of knows Gore-Tex, is Gore-Tex has these micro little pinholes that they act like little breathing. And they're like microns, like teeny tiny. And that's how the air is able to get out. So when you think of something like Gore-Tex, they keep those tiny open holes there so that the air can always get out. What happens with Adapt phase change technology, the items actually open and it closes due to the heat of your body. So if you're hot,
they're reacting to it.
They're reacting to it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. They have used stuff like this before, more in like military clothing. We are now finding it for us, the people,
For us regular people.
Yeah, for us regular people.
What about wicking technology? Is that still something that's very popular? Wesley, do you use wicking technology in the clothing that you wear?
Yeah, I think there's wicking in a lot of Columbia's PFG clothing. I know one of the questions that you had was about stain resistant clothing. They had the Blood and Guts collection, which I have seen in action and worn it a couple times. It is crazy to watch, like it just completely wash off. For what I do, being primarily catch and release and fly fishing, I don't have as much of a need for stain resistant clothing. I'm a mess. So sometimes, but for just like meat fishing and that kind of thing, not so much. But moisture wicking, I think most of their technology has an element of that, which you almost take it for granted because most of the performance clothing, you at least have to have that. But there's definitely like a lot of the pants, the water just beads off.
Jillian, has the moisture wicking technology changed? Is that also changing?
Polyester itself already is self-wicking. And it's how you construct the actual fabric that enhances it or keeps it kind of like the same, or you do a finish on it. So we have another fabric, Aeromesh, that is made out of polyester as well and a spandex, but it actually has a micro mesh in it, but still achieves UPF 50. So we are allowing more air to get into the shirt as well as expel the polyester, being able to push it out to the outdoors so then it can dry within the wind and everything that else is around you. So it's amazing. Polyester itself does it. And then, the designers both at AFCO, Marshwear, and then even Columbia, we go deeper into the construction of the fabric and the finishes of the fabric to enhance it. So we just don't like rest on just polyester is going to do it for it. We all
right
on the best fabric, then it's like this next stepping stone. And that's where it comes into play. Like I'm a nerd for fabric and textiles and designing the right product. But I only have so much room in this brain to, keep going. My passion actually lies over in like skiing and everything. I was a competitive skier.
Right.
When it comes to like really asking our ambassadors like what they really need, that's when my mind starts going and I'm like, oh, they need this. I need to put this. That like gives me all the ingredients to make the right fabric. So it's like you start with the fabric and then you start hearing all the things about fit and then you start creating style lines and everything after that. So it's like these like micro little building blocks. Moisture wicking is huge cold weather and hot weather
Right.
because you need it to keep
But-
you
Go ahead.
cooler. And then in warm weather, you need to keep all the moisture off of you so it can also keep you warmer.
The designers that I went over in October, and I worked with the designers in their lab and in the innovation lab with the Columbia team, and they are technology wizards. Like, I've looked at all of that and I'm like, oh, that's a lot, but I understand. But, they're saying, here's all the materials, and where I felt like I could help them was saying, okay, design wise, this is what you need to think about, from like the size of a pocket to where the zipper is, because you don't want to sit on a boat, which is something they just practically don't. They're from Portland and they don't fish, so they don't understand what we end up doing.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I could help in style, fit, practicality. And then we can look at all of the fabrics and say, okay, this is a little too heavy. This mesh is going to be really great for ventilation. This ugly, don't love it. You have to go through. And just like Mo, Columbia's been so good to me and so tolerant, but I feel like I'm always just so painfully honest. And they're like, no, that's what we want. We want you to come and say that, because that's so valuable. So I gave all the designers my cell phone number, and I was like, if you ever have a question, because I love the clothing, I love the brand, and we want to help in any way we can to create the best performance, fishing gear, but also fishing gear that's going to be great for people that are just starting. Like, whatever it is, it's going to be efficient and effective no matter what. And then it's just style after that.
Right.
The last thing you need to worry about when you go fishing is your clothing. You just want to worry about.
Thank you.
Well,
Especially when you start learning. I'm there. I'm in the learning process, and the last thing I need to worry about is my clothes.
Yeah.
I
Right.
Figure out
And
what
so
I'm
when
doing,
you
try
do
to
have that
listen.
one thing, you're like, Dad gummit, this tag. Like, you're just like, oh, I know. And that cast was crummy, but this tag is all I can focus on.
Well, y'all are both yet too young to know what we used to fish in 20 or 30 years ago. I would say it's come such a long way. We've got so many more choices. And Wesley, I mean, are there particular pet peeves you have about clothing in general? Like, I really hate when the neck is too tight, or I really don't like the thumb holes, or whatever. Are there any specific things that really bother you about, I'm not just Columbia, but about clothing in general?
All of my clothing preferences and specifications are all about practicality. So I'm not quiet when I have a critique. Honestly, it would be that I would want the necklines to be closer. As long as the buff can cover it, that's good. But there was a fabric, for example, Skiff Guide. Most amazing fabric. I love it. But the design on that particular shirt, the neck cowled, and I would have sunburns like right here because it wouldn't, cover it. So practically both me and my dad are always saying, here's what we need functionally. We understand you're designing for people that don't fish maybe as intensely all the time, but here's what you need to look at. And a lot of it can be just from the thumb holes, wherever it is, it can be that minor of a detail. As far as things that bug me, I just don't like when stuff is loud. I don't like and I do mean like noise loud, like when it's real baggy and just there's a lot of extra fabric. Everything we do is very streamlined. So I like everything to just be what you need, not anything more, not anything less, just what you need to do your job. When things go a little over the top, just trying to be different or trying to be, and it's like, do we have to reinvent the wheel, or can we just work on making the best feeling material possible or the best feeling fit possible? I love that many brands have their unique style. I think I was in one of the design meetings with Columbia, and they were like, well, what do you think about the Tamiami or the Bahama button down? And I was like, perfect, don't change it. They're like, seriously? And I was like, no, it's classic. It's awesome for what it is. If you want a performance shirt, or if you want something a little bit more something, then you can look for that. But as far as y'all's bread and butter for the button down Bahama, like, don't change anything. And then we moved on. I was like, but now this shirt, on the other hand,
it's because I know it must be such a challenge, Jillian, to please so many different types of body types. Now I'm a very small, petite, 5'1" female. I've never been able to wear men's fishing clothing. So it's always been kind of a problem for me to find fishing clothing. When the women's apparel started to come out, it started to be a little, more for bigger people and that type of thing. But I definitely have noticed that, there are pieces that I particularly like that fit me fine. Like Columbia used to have a shirt, and they don't have it anymore, that has a hem that's like comes down like this. It's rounded in front, goes high on the sides. And that way, anybody who has any size, any kind of hips, it's not going to bind. And I loved that design. And then now they don't have that anymore. But anyway,
You're like Mo in my ear right now.
Oh, am I? Okay.
Cousin Mo is, oh my gosh.
I'm channeling Mo.
She goes, I need the low and the low and the high on the sides. What is that? Give me that.
Yeah, give me that.
I will say, because it occurred to me later, you said, what pet peeves do I have? If there's any design pet peeves I have, when girl pants and shorts don't have belt loops, when girl pants and shorts have small pockets. Like, if you're going to have pockets, make a pocket or don't. But don't give me this little like chapstick pocket.
Oh, and thank you on the belt loops, Wesley. Oh my goodness. If you're going to put a pair of pliers on your pants, you're going to have a belt.
Oh my goodness. Every time I'm like, I get it. The guide's going to wear it, but we know we need belt loops. We have a belt, we have pliers, we have things.
Right. Exactly. So yeah.
I had to I was like, why didn't I say that? I'm letting my women down everywhere.
Well, there you go. You got it in.
Oh my gosh. Fits. Yeah. That's a huge one, especially for women. And what we run into at AFCO and at Marshwear is our lines are tight. In AFCO, our line is definitely an athletic fit. And we have gotten complaints on the other end that we don't have anything for larger sizing. So we actually, in spring 24 coming out, we have worked on a relaxed fit. So that doesn't mean it's like boyfriend fit. It is a true set in sleeve. So it's still nice up top, but it definitely drapes off the body, no waist shaping or anything. And it's made out of a more cotton style fabric because we were trying to push ourselves in a way that we could find something that performs better than cotton. And we found lyocell, which is derived from wood pulp. And it's an amazing fiber because it's actually 70% more wicking than cotton is. But when blended with a recycled polyester, again, those two coming together enhances the wicking, but then still allows it to feel like a cotton shirt. So we felt that a relaxed fit in something like that allowed it to appeal more for someone that's more beginning, that doesn't, need items like Wesley needs to be real performance driven. It's like that step. So we're trying to like find that step product in, and that's going to be it. And it's awesome. That fiber, just going a little deeper into it, Tencel, it's a closed loop fiber. So it actually doesn't emit water wastage or carbon emissions. It's very sustainable long-term to use. They get it from the forest responsibly. They work with forestries that pull trees from the earth in a responsible manner, like looking for decaying trees and items like that, not watching new growth, avoiding that. So it's a new version of what polyester is, but it's something that can be renewed. And we can recycle again and bring it back to life. And it still gives you that cotton feel, but with performance. Gotcha. So it's our push to maybe even look the other way from polyester for long-term solutions. Yeah. So that's a really exciting product for fit. And I mean, fit is one of the biggest struggles that we had. And we actually took a break for a season and we worked with a pattern maker that specializes in performance for women. She's done moto, mountain bike, really technical product. And she helped create our blocks that we now work with that has helped fix the bottoms, and we came up with standardized tops. So it's been a long road for women's fit, but we definitely have worked really hard to get it much better than where it was at. Right. Fine tuning those little items so that, we're not just really, really performance driven. We can, open up to
lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Wesley, Columbia's always had the benefit of, I mean, they've been around for a long time making men's and women's clothing for as long as I
Right.
can remember. Columbia's was really the first brand that I recall making women's fishing clothing. And so they have more, probably a lot of different kinds of fits and a lot of different kinds of products. Mainly the part that goes on the top of your body. The shorts and the pants are a little. There's not a lot of that. AFCO, I think, has more for the shorts and the pants at this point in time. So it's good to see, both of them have more complete women's lines as we're going forward and trying to adapt to different fits and that type of different size people. Because I will tell you, there are so many more women getting into this sport than I've ever seen before, and it's fabulous. It's fascinating. So I'm glad to hear that the manufacturers are listening to women and taking the feedback directly. So one final thing that I wanted to ask y'all about, that which is sort of a perennial debate among females, and that is, how do you feel about the color pink?
I read this question and giggled a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. I think pink's a fine color. It's not a color I choose out of functionality. Like I dress in the light colors, and then the whites, grays, tans, light blues, light greens, because that's what I have to choose for sight fishing for inshore species. So I will throw a shrimp in there once in a while just because it's something different, and I usually steal it out of my mom's closet. But pink isn't really advantageous for what I'm doing. I'll pick a pink bonefish fly, but that's different. But I understand what the question also is asking. Pink isn't a color I choose for functionality, but it's also not really a color I like. I think pink as an accent color, as a way to make something a girl item, I think that's fine if you give other options. But I think being like, oh, look, it's girl. I think we're kind of past that, I would think. I mean, you definitely still see it. But if I had an option of like a performance jacket that had pink piping, and a performance jacket that didn't, I would pick the one that didn't, just because that would be my preference. And that comes down to style and choice. So that would be my take on pink.
Jillian, what about you?
Where do I start? Personally, like me as just a human, I agree. I wouldn't go searching out for a pink item. But when I put my design hat on, I think that there could be the right pink. You go trending, and for a while, actually, pink wasn't it. Like pink wasn't a color. It actually was blues and beautiful greens. So I didn't even have to touch it until I think this past one fall season. And like Wesley just said, I did it as hits because I didn't want to just all of a sudden make it feel like it's a shrink it and pink it. That, you hear that term a lot, because a lot of women's items are pulled over from men's. I don't want that to be the feeling, especially for the brand. This is where then it gets a little deeper, is when I get our sales that come in, our corals and our pinks pre-line extremely well.
Yeah.
And I had that in other industries that I was in too. And what it comes down to, as an end user and as a woman, if you are not a pink lover, you have to make that apparent to your local retailers. You have to, go up and, demand that you would like something different and that you wouldn't buy pink. But since pink is still moving within retailers, Columbia, AFCO, we always have to sit there and it's like an inner turmoil. Like most designers really don't want to always do it. It's just that, it's a business too, and sells. And I think my biggest thing is, anyone out there that would be listening to this, if they can go to I support your local retailer and, go in and actively ask for different colors that aren't of that color. One thing that's a bummer is when it's the only thing that's offered. You buy it because you still need UPF protection. You still need the wicking. And so there's a percentage of women that don't want it, but they bought it for the performance. And I would say the push would be there. It's something that I run into when I'm trying to push new women's garments that, hey, it didn't pre-line, and I'm like up against the wall and I'm like fighting for it, because I know when I spoke to women that are out there doing the deed, they're asking for it and they want it, and they want it in 5 million different colors. And I am up against the wall of getting it past that point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean,
it's a
that's
very big question.
yeah, I feel this is the same as Wesley. I mean, it's usually not my choice. Occasionally I'll wear it. But I like the idea of having different options. And, it does beg the question, are the sales so high because the retailers are only ordering the pink, thinking that's what people are going to buy. So they're buying it because it's their only choice. So, I mean, some of it is just, it's
a mentality shift.
Right.
I think, you think it's an outdoor sport. Let's make it feminine. Let's make it pink. I know I've been on shoots where I definitely got the girl outfit. Like I was wearing pink and I was like, well, fine. If we're going to wear pink, I'm going to make sure it gets dirty and it gets, we're doing, fishing exactly the same way. But now it's moved away from that. But that was, several years ago, and now it's kind of shifting. But I think to your point, you have to see it from the numbers, from like the base up of like what people are requesting, what they're buying. And I've talked to, the designers all the time about my opinions and my opinion of pink and very, off the record terms. But at the end of the day, I'm not the mass consumer. Like I'm a very particular performance niche of fishing.
Right.
And, Columbia is a huge brand. What I think Columbia does very well is the size inclusion, like we were talking about, and they give a lot of different options. Yeah. But those preferential things have to come from the consumer and the retailer, like all the way up.
Okay. So ladies out there, go ask your local retailers to please stock multiple colors. Yeah. let's get off this pink kick. So, okay. Well, is there anything that we haven't covered that y'all wanted to talk about?
We did our first women's summit this past September, and we gathered a whole bunch of really rad women, and we all went to Captain Moe's at Journey South Outfitters in Venice, Louisiana. And they all got together and they got to speak freely about clothing, the way that things are marketed to women. They got to learn about tagging. They got to eat good, because that's how they are. I mean, man, you go to Journey South and you eat well.
Oh yeah.
Mo, man, they just feed you. And everything was just all about, passing on knowledge, and in turn also gaining knowledge for AFCO and for Marshwear to become better for women. And that's not just clothing. It was also for marketing, was a big one as well. Cool. So it's super exciting, and it's called Fish Camp. YouTube it. It's
okay.
A little
cool.
thing.
Check it out.
Well, thanks, y'all. I really appreciate it. Hopefully one day I'll see you on the water.
Yeah.
And tight lines.